Hi, I'm Drew Hutchison, and you're tuned to Local Bias. We come to you from the studios at East Hampton Media, E-Media, on Pleasant Street in East Hampton in the Eastworks building. It's a lovely facility, and I'm grateful that they allow us to produce Local Bias here. We go out throughout the whole Pioneer Valley, and we generally talk about what's going on in the Pioneer Valley. However, there's a lot going on elsewhere that I think we need to talk about. And to help me do that is my guest today, Mark Wisnewski.
Hi,
Mark,
Drew.
It's so good to see you again.
Thank you.
And I was thinking about how I first met you. I recognized you as a bartender at the People's Pint, but then I started seeing you on TV because you were on the city council.
Right.
And you were one of the few people that made sense.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And it was so frustrating because you would be there, and to me, you're sounding logical.
Right.
And then you have these other people on the council who are kind of batshit crazy.
Yeah. I'm not gonna throw stones this far in the past, but yeah, I think that's been one of the conflicts I've had throughout my life is that I have a very practical, analytical view of things, and on the right or the left, I've had trouble with people who aren't.
Right.
I mean, I feel like, there are very obvious practical things that we should be agreeing on and doing, and yet it seems very hard to get people to do that.
The purity test from the left has frankly irritated me far more than the ridiculousness of the right.
Right.
Because they should know better.
It should be, this is one of the things that drives me crazy about politics on every level at this point, is that we should be talking about policy,
right,
and then we should be talking about how people fit those policies. But instead, we have an entertainment, character-driven
We need an
elections
outrage. We need
about
clickbait.
who looks the best and who's going to, and how that should. If they don't fit your policy, it doesn't matter how well they present themselves.
But the thing is, they're not even dealing with policy. They're going after trans. Like that's what's changing the quality of all of our lives.
It's ludicrous.
Because there's some people there've always been trans people. I've known them since I was a little kid.
Yes.
And the idea that guys dressing up in drag and reading out of libraries. Guess what? They're not in the Epstein files.
I'll make it even bigger than that. Who cares about what anyone does with themselves if it doesn't harm other people?
Right.
I don't care.
Right.
It makes no difference to me. You don't have to agree with any of it.
Right.
Like that's my biggest point. I don't have to agree with anything you do with your body. Right. I'm not a lover of tattoos.
Right.
So I don't get tattoos.
Right. But you're not outlawing tattoos.
But I don't care if you're covered in tattoos. It doesn't matter as long as you're not harming someone else.
Well, and it seems to be that the propaganda purveyors, Fox, they call themselves Fox News, but Fox, because they're not news, it's propaganda. They make everything, they build mountains out of molehills.
Right. I mean, we now call it the culture wars, which is...
Well, there's always been the culture wars, because they hated the fact that people protested against the Vietnam War.
Right.
They hated the fact that people protested against nuclear power plants being built.
Right.
It's like they hated the fact that women wanted to be treated as equals with men.
Right.
Or that colored people had the right to vote. I mean, time and time again.
Well, that's why we have these. A lot of these issues now, they take side issues to argue with them.
That's
They
right.
can't argue the point. They can't say, I don't want women to have an equal vote.
Right.
So instead, they have a different issue.
Right.
It's, our families need to be together in order to raise children a certain way. I'm sorry, the point is, should women have equal rights completely or not? And you should be able to answer. One of the things that really drove me crazy when I was on the Greenfield school town council is that in one re-election campaign, my opponent wouldn't answer the question of whether he believed abortion should be legal or not. He would sidestep it by saying, it's the law in this state now, and I always support the law. He wouldn't answer whether he would change that law if he could, because obviously he probably would have.
Right.
But instead, we have a distraction answer.
Well, and that's the same thing that all of the Trump administration does when they appear before Congress.
Look at Bondi.
Look at Bondi.
I honestly don't know if she answered a question. question.
She's going to jail.
Yeah, well, she should be in
If
jail.
we have, so the thing is that Trump has talked repeatedly about there's no need for elections anymore because he's doing such a great job. And it doesn't make sense that there's midterms because for some reason in the midterms, the House of Representatives flips to the other party, and that makes it harder for him to be the greatest president in all history. Just like he was telling the Prime Minister of Italy that United States and Italy have been allies since Roman times. Just like with the air...
Except the major war? I mean,
well, the thing is, he's so...
Mussolini?
Well, the thing is, we weren't around during Roman times.
Well, that too.
So, but just like he thought there were airports during the Revolutionary War. If a Democrat, any candidate had said one of those things, it would be thrown back in his face every day ad nauseum till the end of time to make it so that no one would vote for him.
Well, if you have to look at anything that the Republicans have done that has pretty much ruined our democratic process, it is the idea that they gave up on competence.
Right.
We have the most incompetent cabinet in history. The least qualified cabinet in history.
Well, how many of them have ties to Jeffrey Epstein, though?
How many of them have the basic education that the people used to have in their position? They don't.
Right.
I look at Hegseth. You know that Hegseth and I have almost an identical military career? He did leave one rank higher than me, but he didn't have a command, which I did.
Right.
I am highly unqualified to be the Secretary of Defense.
Right.
I am absolutely.
And he has
our
demonstrated
Secretary of
that.
Defense have been 4-star generals.
Right.
Which means you have a master's degree.
Right.
You probably have a doctorate degree.
Right.
You have gone to the War College, and you have commanded thousands of people.
Right. And meanwhile,
None of those apply to this gentleman.
And then he shuts down El Paso airspace to shoot down a party balloon with lasers.
But here's the thing. Of course he does, because he's incompetent and unqualified. And yet, the amazing thing is sometimes I sit here thankful that they're so incompetent.
Yes.
Because if they were this fascist and competent, we wouldn't even be sitting here now having this conversation.
I have had that exact thought. Yeah.
They are so incompetent that they can't accomplish what they want to accomplish, which is evil.
Well, that's the thing is, what they want to accomplish is actually evil.
Yes, it is. It's absolutely evil.
And so then we have to talk about what is human nature? What are we capable of?
Yep.
Because what separates us? There's not that much difference between all of us, and yet somehow, by degree, there are people that are willing to hurt others.
Right.
And they get satisfaction from it.
Oh, God. It's terrible. We have a... I never like to blame our entertainment industry, but I can't help but to think that there is a definite cultural parallel between the love of the shoot 'em up, hero blows up everything screen image that we've had for so long, and a guy like Hegseth. Like, they like him because he's destructive.
Right.
And it's ludicrous.
Well, he's a fake patriot.
His position is supposed to be the opposite. It is supposed to be a balanced, thoughtful person who's keeping us from wanting to go to war.
Right.
And instead, we have a war fanatic who thinks it's very exceptional,
right,
to say that we could conquer anyone.
Well, the fact that they blew up these supposed drug smugglers, it's like, okay, so how do you know they were drugs? Where's the evidence?
Listen, that captain should be in jail.
He should be in jail. And quite frankly, so I'm hoping we have elections. I think we will, because the federal government has no right to interfere in elections. Now, he's talking about sending ICE goons around to intimidate people from voting. Just like Minnesota backfired on them, I'm hoping that enough Americans wake up that they're like, no, we're not going to be intimidated. We're voting. And then I hope the votes get counted.
But of course you're in the same boat I am, which is I never thought this guy would get a second chance, which I am going to say.
I don't think he won't.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I think that is,
yeah, I think
there
Elon
should be
Musk,
inspection.
The Center for Election Integrity, or whatever it's called, have done studies, and there are precincts where the numbers don't add up.
Yeah, where all the down ballot people voted for Democrats and then suddenly voted for Trump at the top of the ballot.
So my question is, Trump filed 60 lawsuits when he lost in 2020, and lost all those suits except for one where it was about where election observers could be within so many feet. The Democrats haven't ever sued about jack shit.
Well, I think the one thing he does, oh my God, it's, I wanted to tell you before we started that I hope
Don't get me riled up.
I hope you can bleep things out because
it doesn't matter.
This administration makes me swear more than I've ever sworn in my entire life. I never have been as vulgar as I have been in the last year.
Well, he's vulgar.
Well, that's true. That's true, and that debasement makes me feel bad.
We don't want to go there, but we do at times.
Oh, but it's so offensive. I mean, but you're going to have to bring me back to topic. What were we talking about?
I was going to say we could go anywhere.
Yeah, well, that's true.
It's every day is a dumpster fire.
It's true.
And that's part of their strategy.
It's throw as much crap at the wall as you can.
Because we're reacting.
And it used to be, his first term, it was just him throwing crap at the wall.
Right.
Now he has 4, 5, 6 other little minions who are also throwing crap at the wall. You don't have time to react to anything. You don't have time to have any kind of conversation about anything. He doesn't do anything legislatively, so there's no conversation anyway.
Orders. Yeah, because Mike Johnson is just going to bend over for him.
Oh my God, the Republicans, how do they look at themselves? How do you look at yourself when you allowed this to happen? Because they know, not all of them.
No,
some of them are really dumb.
Some of them truly are. But I've heard enough conversations from Democratic lawmakers who say in private, they tell me that this is wrong.
Right.
But they are afraid, Mark.
And what are they afraid of? They're afraid of losing a race.
Well, not just that. Their families get threatened.
That too.
Their lives.
You're right.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, as crazy as she is, never had to hire security until she went against Trump.
That's true.
And they talk about the leftists being violent.
Oh, yes.
And yet that's not true.
Are you kidding me? Half the arguments now are that the left are the fascist party. It makes no sense. It's historically inaccurate.
Right.
I had a gentleman just the other day, he was trying to argue with me, and I said to him, he said, the fascists are communists. I said, then why were the communists the first people that Hitler rounded up after the Jewish people?
Right.
Why were they the very next group?
They can't answer that because they don't know their history.
No, not
They
at
know their
all.
talking points that people regurgitate to them.
They heard
it gets repeated.
I'm going to go farther.
Okay.
I think most of them don't even believe what they're saying. Trump has shown them what propaganda does. That saying something over and over and over again makes people believe it.
Right.
I look at the voter ID.
Right.
Now, 71% in a CNN survey of Democrats said they support voter ID. Now, of course, they didn't go farther to say that they didn't necessarily support all the requirements of the SAVE Act, which are
the idea
draconian.
that women have to show their birth certificate and a passport, marriage license, if their name is not what they were born with. Are you?
Right. So they didn't go into the details because they never go into the details because the details are where the devil is.
But the idea of having voter ID.
But so to me, I had to reassess myself. Okay. I had to say, okay, this is a public sentiment. It's probably a public sentiment because of propaganda.
Right.
But it is a public sentiment. So I said, so what would make voter ID acceptable to me? And I said, it would be free and accessible by everybody.
Right.
And then I could be okay with you requiring a voter ID.
Otherwise
it's a poll tax. Right. It's absolutely illegal. It's been considered illegal by the Supreme Court dozens of times in our history, and it is always used to suppress the minority vote, whatever that minority is.
That's right.
And you know, I always want to give up in this administration. I want to I'm old enough, I'm white, I don't have to worry about anything because I have enough money. I could just ride this out no matter what happens, probably quietly. But then I say to myself, I'm just experiencing what a lot of black people have experienced since they were brought over here on boats.
That's right.
And every year they've managed to keep going. And every year they manage to keep fighting this. And I can't stop fighting because how would that be fair to the people who've really suffered?
That's right.
I'm a white guy. I've had the easiest thing. I grew up, let's say, lower middle class, but definitely in the middle class range. At least I had the benefits of middle class, even if I didn't have the actual money.
Right, and you had the white privilege.
And I had white
the male privilege. They
I
both
had
exist.
everything down. Right, absolutely. So if I'm feeling stressed right now, I can't even imagine the years of going through that. The trauma, I hate that word because I think it's overused, but truly the trauma that minorities have gone through for their entire lives,
Right.
and not their lives, their parents' lives and their grandparents' lives and their great-grandparents' lives, and they keep moving.
Right. But they're also, so I don't know if you're familiar with Sapolsky, the primatologist. He studied baboons.
Okay.
But basically, based upon your upbringing, if you're born to a woman in poverty, that there's a lot of violence going on, heightened cortisol levels, which means that your brain has a quicker trigger for danger.
Right.
And you're more likely to act out.
Right.
I mean, there are so many ways that we are influenced by the culture and the environment in which we are raised.
Right.
Why can't we have a level playing field and just everybody gets treated with kindness and respect and love?
Yeah.
That's what we're asking for, because then everybody has an opportunity.
Right.
But it's not a level playing field.
Right.
If you come in born with a lot of money,
Oh, of course. It's not a level playing field. Even if you're not born with a lot of money. I mean, I have people who grew up with me who are like, I didn't get anything when I was young. And I'm like, you had a house that your parents owned.
right.
That's more than, I don't know the percentage. I don't want to invent percentages.
Right.
But that is way more than people of minorities had in their households most of the time. You don't see the step because you were on the step.
That's right.
You don't see the step you're on. You see the ones above you, and you maybe notice the ones below you, but the one you're on is never noticeable.
So I think one of the things that's also happening, though, is that younger men are lost. For one thing, women now comprise more of the educated workforce than men.
Right.
They are more likely to go to college and graduate.
Correct.
They still don't get paid as much.
Right.
But they're more educated and they're able to earn more. They don't need men as much.
Which may be one of the things that's saving us right now.
Well, the
in
thing
a
is
way.
that these men feel like, well, what's wrong with me? And so they blame the woman,
Right.
or they blame the liberal society because they liked it before when everything was just handed to them. They're fragile and they're acting out because they were never taught to be real men. A real man doesn't have to shoot a woman in the face because she says, I'm not mad at you.
I don't like to here's the thing. I don't like to defend. People are a product of their environment.
Yes.
And it's hard to move away from things like that. I know they should,
Right.
but I can also understand when they can't.
Right.
And the question is, how do we move them? I don't know that we can with the leadership that we have now.
Well, what's happened to education in this country? I mean, for instance, it was under Reagan that they stopped teaching most civics. People don't know what's in the Constitution. You read the preamble to the Declaration of Independence, and it lists all these grievances, whereas Donald Trump fits to a T all of those grievances of a tyrant.
Obviously.
And yet, Americans are not familiar with our founding documents.
No, well, I think education has purposely been suppressed. I don't think we can argue that it hasn't. Even the cultural idea of the elites being professors or educated people.
Right.
I had an argument, I didn't have an argument, I should say that.
Discussion.
I made a statement to somebody who shared the thing that if you are an electrician or plumber or whatever, you should get just as much respect as a college graduate.
Well, of course.
And I said, yes. I mean, my entire life has been working class.
Right.
I know that right now I have a small ownership role, but I work with those people. I don't work over them. I work directly with them.
Right.
I've never really, except for some very brief, weird positions, had, other than the military maybe,
Right.
Had anything but dealing with workers. I've been a carpenter or a custom builder, however you want to put it, and I've been basically mostly a bartender most of my life. I've had other roles, but those are the majority. And the problem is, the counterpoint is also true, though. Your 4-year degree makes you more qualified for whatever your field is,
Well, for
and
your
in critical
field.
thinking.
Right.
And why do we not think that a 4-year degree person can critically think better than someone who doesn't have the training? It's still training.
Right.
My plumber is so much better at me than plumbing.
Right.
I could do a little bit of plumbing.
Yep.
But you can't get me to do anything to code.
I can do enough plumbing to have to hire a plumber to come and fix my
Exactly.
mistake.
Until the water starts spurting out, and then the plumber's got to come, right?
But the thing is, you talk about respect. You should respect everybody.
Right.
Just everybody.
Everyone's education and everyone's abilities and everybody's competence should all be respected.
Right.
So when you use one of those things to disrespect the other, and sure, I think that in the past there have been some educated people disrespecting people who are
course,
smart,
because humans do
but
that.
do labor.
Right.
But there's just as many people who do labor who disrespect educated people and don't believe that they have a value that's
Right.
given to them by four strenuous years of learning.
Right. So I don't disagree with you. I just wish that we could get to a place where we acknowledge people who demonstrate expertise in their field. This anti-vax crap.
Health is a perfect example. You have the unqualified Secretary of Health and Human Services, and the doctors are being dismissed.
Right.
The doctors somehow are the ones who are taking money from those pharmaceuticals. Even though I don't want to get the numbers wrong, but I believe the pharmaceutical industry takes in something like $3 billion a year or something.
Right.
But the health and wellness industry is like double that.
Right.
So the people who are telling you not to trust their doctors because they may be biased are taking more money than the doctors that they're saying might be biased because they make money.
And frankly, doctors are miserable in the system that we have right now.
It's terrible.
They meet you for 15 minutes. They have a checklist. They fill in boxes. That's not a relationship with a medical professional.
No, it's...
And the thing is, the insurance...
Are we going on to healthcare now?
Well, yes,
that's
actually,
another one.
I wanted to talk about that.
I don't have insurance this year. Because neither my wife's job only has very few employees, so they can't offer a plan that's reasonable.
Right.
And I am self-employed. So our insurance was going to be for three of us was going to be almost $20,000 a year, which is a ridiculous percentage of our combined income.
Right.
Ridiculous percentage. And that wasn't even the worst part. That might have been okay. But the deductibles that came with that meant that even if I had a $10,000 crisis, I wouldn't be covered for any of it. How is that healthcare?
That is not healthcare. And the thing is, it's anti-business.
This is the argument I have online all the time. There is no business that has less than, I would say, 3,000 employees that wouldn't be better off with national single-payer healthcare.
Right. Well, and also, let's say that you want to start your own business. Why would you leave a company where you have your health insurance provided? You can't afford it.
Look at the quality of employees that you can attract if you can offer health care.
Right.
As opposed to when you can't.
Right.
So you have a construction company that has 5 people. You can't get the best electricians.
Right.
You can't do it because those electricians are going to go to the union job, which I love unions, but they're going to go to the union job where they're going to get at both the pay and the health care.
Right.
And of course now, your little business of 5 people has to take the second choice or the third or the fourth choice of person.
Right.
And it's not right.
So,
look at teachers. I taught at a private school. I got paid $16,000 a year. Had to live there to do that. And had to watch the kids both after school and on weekends.
Wow.
And at the time, I think the comparable rate in a public school was $36,000 a year and full health care.
Right.
Look at the healthcare debate is just amazing to me because this is what I say. We pay for single payer healthcare right now.
Right.
We pay our federal employees, our state employees, our local employees, incling schools.
Well, and actually, talk about tax rates. Property taxes going up all across the country.
Oh yeah,
it's not this town. I saw people saying, "Oh, it's the liberals on the city council is why Greenfield's tax rate went up."
God.
It's like no, it's because health insurance rates go up faster than inflation every single year.
In Massachusetts, every town goes up 2.5% every year.
Right, because that's where they're capped.
Because that's all you can do.
Right.
You can't blame anyone for that.
Right.
How can you blame a political ideology for that?
Right.
So I just want to finish my thought, because we pay for federal government, state government, local government, schools. We pay for all the elderly, 50% of the children, all the disabled, and yet who doesn't get health care? Mostly the people who are 35 years old and working in their own business.
Right. Yeah.
That amount of money pays for everything. It's crazy.
Well, the thing is, you have to think about the shareholders.
Well, that's true. No, you have to think about people who are enslaved to corporate positions.
Right.
Because you can't leave them or you lose your health care.
Exactly. And that's where I'm saying it's anti-business.
Yeah, of course it is. It's anti-medium to small business, which are most of our businesses.
That's right.
I mean, people love to think that the corporations are the biggest employers, and they aren't.
Right.
So.
And yet they carry the most weight. They're able to.
Well, they can buy the rules. They can buy. Right now, you can physically pay Donald Trump and sit down at the table with him.
If you have enough money.
Right.
It's a pay-to-play presidency.
He tells you that.
Right.
The thing is, these are the things that would have been shocking had we said 10 years ago.
Right.
Which are openly admitted by this administration.
Like the emoluments clause.
Oh my God.
What's the point of it?
we don't have any. I don't know. We don't have a government right now, so I don't know what to say.
But the thing is,
we have a pay-to-play system at the moment, which we've always had to an extent.
Well, of course.
But the shocking and transparency of it is.
But I'm not in favor of Medicare for all.
Oh no?
Medicare sucks.
Oh, okay. All right, I understand. I don't think that people who say Medicare for all think Medicare is the exact system.
Okay.
I think that they think it's a term that you can relate to.
Okay.
Like, you're right, because here's another one. My father is going to Colombia with me in a couple months.
Right.
Because he has to have a number of teeth removed because he didn't care for his mouth well.
Right.
And the cost to remove them and give him dentures, and this is not an exaggeration, was $18,000. In Colombia, it will be $5,000.
Yeah.
Now, that's not health care.
That's not health care.
And that's right. You're right. Medicare should cover that. Why does Medicare not cover the teeth?
And there's cuts to Medicare, of course, because of the great big beautiful bill.
Right, of course. Well, that's the other thing. The game the Republicans play are it doesn't affect you till after the next election game.
Right. They always right.
Everything is not going to show until after the next election. So as long as we can get past the next election, we'll make sure the Medicare cuts don't close the hospitals until 2027.
Right.
Right? So that you won't even know what the big bad bill was about.
Well, it's like all the deficit hawks. They come out in droves if there's a Democratic president.
Oh my God, the deficit hawks.
But they passed the first big tax break when Trump was first in office, and it was supposed to go, disappear at a certain point, but keep the billionaires tax break going.
Exactly.
And then they had to come up with more tax breaks for billionaires.
You could just look at the chart, and the deficit always increases dramatically under a Republican and reduces or increases less under a Democrat.
Tax and spend liberals.
Of course it is.
So people are just gullible.
They've backed. Democrats are on the and I'm not going to blame them either, because this is what people do. Democrats are on the defense always, but part of the reason they're on the defense is because the position is complicated, and Democrats are trying to tell you what that position. Not all of them, not all the time.
Right, but they're not. It's not just a slogan with a catchphrase.
Right, you're not going to go, we're cutting taxes. No, you've got to go look at the bill. It cuts taxes for these people. It doesn't cut, right. The no tax on overtime is one of the greatest examples.
Right.
First of all, what could help corporations more than no taxes on overtime? Right? Because now they're making you work overtime instead of hiring another person, which you would have to do if they didn't. Right. They all want you working 60 hours a week.
Right.
They'd rather have two of you working 60 hours a week than 6 of you working 40.
That's right.
But second of all, he even screwed them anyway, because it's only on the half that you get deducted, and then it's only taxes. So let's say you made an extra $10,000 that year. What are the taxes on that $10,000? Maybe $2,000 for you if you're in a good income bracket.
Right.
And so now you're saving what? Another $200 with his plan? How is that any value to you? It's like his health care plan. Here, your health care, mine went up $7,000, $8,000. So he's going to give me $2,000?
Right.
How is that helpful?
Right.
I mean, what you're saying is you're going to raise it $6,000 on me. You're using words to make it look like you're going to give me something, but you're not giving me anything.
And then I know we're running out of time, but there's Doge.
Oh,
they were supposed to find all this fraud.
What a disaster.
How come there's not a single person that has gone to trial for fraud?
Not one.
So where's the
no fraud? This is the thing. I did work at a corporation for a little while. It was a bank. It was a major bank. There was more fraud in that bank. There was more pilferage of things. There was more using company time.
Right.
But they don't have to report it. And nobody gets to investigate it.
Right.
Is there waste in government? Yeah, there's waste in everything.
Well, when they talk about, for instance, Medicare fraud, it's usually the providers and not the people receiving the care.
Yep. It's usually people like the Senator Rick Scott from Florida. Right.
The biggest Medicare fraudster in history.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's a senator.
Yes, and we don't talk about it.
Because he's just...
it's amazing. It's stunning. To think, when somebody points out waste in government, I just always love to go to Medicare because they run it. I don't know the percent. I think it's
right, but it's very low,
percent
very
management
small
or something.
Percentage. Right, very small.
And your health insurance is like now sometimes almost 12% management costs.
Yeah. How does that make sense?
How are you not comparing those things and
because
saying
it's not a slogan,
efficient?
Mark. It's not a slogan.
Insane. So yeah, there's always going to be fraud. There's always going to be waste. To ever think that you can get a government agency not to have it is as ridiculous as thinking it's not exactly the same in your private companies.
And that's why we should have inspector generals, but they were all fired by Trump just about.
Well, here's what I love to talk about because I relate it to privatization of trash removal, which was going to save us all money because the private companies are so good.
They're so
And what
efficient.
do? They save you money for 2 years.
And then
they let your town get rid of all of its trucks and all of its ability to not use your services, and then they go through the roof. And they've done it for every community everywhere, without exception. It's just BS.
It's BS. And I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your views. But hey, you're smiling, and
I feel like. Thank you, Drew.
Thank you, Mark. It's so good to see you again. And I think that the pendulum's swinging the other way.
Well, I'm going to say I feel like I'm expressing outrage, but outrage is the only appropriate response at this point.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Drew Hutchison. You've been tuned to Local Bias. My guest has been Mark Wisnewski. He is the owner of the Rendezvous Restaurant and Bar in Turners Falls. We're non-commercial, so I can't say go there.
You don't have to.
But thank you.
Thank you.
And be blessed. Bye.